Starfighter. You have been recruited by the Starleague.
Imagine being a kid in the 1980s. You're in an arcade. You put your coin into a machine. You get really good at the game. Then one day, an alien shows up and says, "Congratulations, that wasn't a game. It was a recruitment test. You're now a starfighter." Honestly, that's still one of the greatest sci-fi premises ever created. And yet, somehow, The Last Starfighter never became a franchise. No sequel, no TV series, no trilogy, no streaming universe, nothing. Which is strange because this film got a lot of things right. In fact, in some ways, it was decades ahead of its time. And the more you look at it, the more surprising it becomes that Hollywood never managed to turn it into something bigger. I had this on VHS back in the day, watched it more times than I can remember, and honestly, I'm still surprised we're still sitting here in 2026 without a proper Last Starfighter sequel. So let's talk about why this little 1984 sci-fi movie still has fans 40 years later, and why I think it deserves far more recognition than it gets. If you grew up in the VHS era, The Last Starfighter was almost custom built for you. Alex Rogan isn't a chosen one. He's not a prince. He's not secretly the son of some legendary hero. He's just a teenager living in a trailer park. A good kid, a smart kid, a kid who dreams about something bigger. And that's what made him relatable. Most of us weren't living exciting lives. We weren't adventurers. We weren't superheroes. We were just ordinary people imagining what it would be like if something extraordinary happened. The movie taps directly into that fantasy. What if the thing you do for fun turns out to matter? What if all those hours playing games weren't a waste of time? What if they were training? It's simple, it's effective, and it immediately hooks you into the story. One thing people forget is just how early this movie was. Today, gaming is everywhere. Professional esports, streaming, competitive tournaments, massive online communities, but back in 1984, gaming was still seen as a niche hobby. The Last Starfighter took one look at arcade gaming and basically said, what if these skills actually mattered in the real world? Sure, that sounds totally normal today, but at the time, it was a brilliant concept, and in a weird way, the movie ended up being surprisingly prophetic. Modern militaries use advanced simulators. Air forces train on specialized software, and drone operators, they use control systems that look a lot like gaming interfaces. Obviously, the movie didn't predict reality perfectly, but the basic concept, using simulated environments to find real talent, that's not sci-fi anymore, that's just real life. This is the part many younger viewers might not realise. The Last Starfighter wasn't just telling an interesting story, it was making film history. The movie became one of the first major films to use extensive CGI spacecraft instead of traditional physical models. Today, that sounds completely normal. Back then, it was revolutionary. Most space movies relied on miniatures, tiny ships, motion control cameras, physical effects. The Last Starfighter decided to do something different, and while some of the effects definitely show their age now, I still find them charming, because you're looking at filmmakers trying something new, trying something nobody else had really attempted on that scale. Without experiments like this, you don't eventually get modern visual effects. Every technology starts somewhere, and The Last Starfighter was one of those important stepping stones. Let's be honest, we have to talk about the Death Blossom, because if you've seen the movie, you remember it. You probably haven't watched the film in years, maybe decades, but you still remember the Death Blossom, the Gunstar spinning in every direction, weapons firing everywhere, entire enemy fleets getting wiped out. It's ridiculous, it's over the top, and it's fantastic. The reason people still talk about moments like this is because they aren't just effects, they're payoff. The film spends time building anticipation, then delivers something memorable. That's good storytelling. Setup, payoff, simple, effective, timeless. This is the part that always surprises me, because when you look at the ingredients, it feels like a franchise waiting to happen. Space battles, aliens, heroes, arcade gaming, a wider universe, the Star League, the Kodan Armada. You could easily imagine multiple movies, a television series, books, comics, maybe even games. Instead, The Last Starfighter became a beloved cult classic, the kind of movie people discover on VHS, watched repeatedly, then spend decades recommending to friends. And honestly, there are worse fates. Not every story needs 10 sequels. Not every film needs an interconnected cinematic universe. Sometimes a movie survives because people genuinely love it, not because some marketing team forced it on them. This is where things get interesting, because honestly, I'm not sure Hollywood would even make this movie today, at least not in the same way. The original is sincere, it's optimistic, it believes ordinary people can rise to extraordinary challenges. There's no irony, no constant winking at the audience, no endless self awareness. The movie simply says, here's a fun idea, let's run with it, and that's part of its charm. Would a modern version keep that spirit? Maybe, maybe not. That's always the risk. Sometimes a remake understands why people loved the original. Sometimes it only understands that people loved the original, and those are very different things. The Last Starfighter might not be the biggest sci-fi movie of the 1980s. It isn't as famous as Star Wars. It isn't as influential as Alien. It isn't as talked about as Back to the Future. But it has something special: heart, charm, optimism, and one of the most memorable premises ever put on screen. For a generation of VHS kids, it was pure wish fulfillment, a reminder that maybe ordinary people can do extraordinary things, and honestly, that's probably why we're still talking about it over 40 years later. But what about you? Did you watch The Last Starfighter back in the VHS days? Did you see it at the cinema? Do you think it deserves a proper sequel, a TV series, or should it be left alone? And what's your favourite forgotten sci-fi movie from the 70s or 80s? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, hit like, subscribe, and check out the rest of this channel for more TV and film discussions, retrospectives, and breakdowns. I'll see you in the next one.